Hello, you're listening to the Layers podcast. I'm your host, Tayo, and I'm so excited to have you join us on the conversation today. All we're doing is exploring the many layers of our world and discovering the diversity of voices and stories that exist within it. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and that it adds new and colorful layers to your life. Hello and welcome back to the Layers podcast. I'm your host, Tayo, as always. And today in our guest seat, we have the wonderful Kofi Ntiforo, who is a self-taught Ghanaian filmmaker, award-winning Ghanaian filmmaker, if I have to say. And he is an artist. He's a creative director. And today we're just going to talk about his journey and the power of storytelling and really making your own way in life. So welcome to the podcast, Kofi.
Thank you so much, Tayo. Happy to be here and happy to learn and share. Yeah,
you're a big deal, Kofi. You're a national and international award-winning filmmaker, and this all happened because you just stumbled into it. How amazing!
Yes. I mean, it was all through an act of serendipity. Yeah, how I got into film. But I mean, we can go into details. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with how you got into film. So I've heard you call it a happy mistake. So maybe bring our listeners onto how that happened.
Wow, I'm surprised because that means you've actually been reading my captions and stuff like that. Yeah, but yes, it's a happy mistake because how do I yes. So I have a friend when I was doing my first degree in Ghana, that's in KNUST. I was studying construction, so I have no background in film. So I asked a friend to give me to copy some movies and some files onto a drive I had, and he mistakenly added an installation pack for, I think for Adobe or something. So I was like, oh, what's this thing? I don't know what it was called CC Master File Pack then back then. So the first thing I installed was Adobe Premiere Pro, and I was like, okay, what's this thing? I saw photo/video upload. So I put some photos and videos there and I realized that you could play around with them. So that opened my curiosity and led me to study more about this thing. And I realized that, oh, some Hollywood productions have used this software. So I was like, oh, wait, like I have the key, actually, so I had to teach myself, and I realized that I've always had this creative tendency, which I discovered in bits, and I'm now actually trying to find the roots. So my dad told me recently that my great grandma was a sculptor,
Oh wow!
and my dad is a very good artist as well, who didn't really pursue that through, but like there's art in the family. You could even see it in the handwriting and all that. So it's kind of unfortunate but fortunate that I grew up in the typical African home where art is really like a hobby and never grows from there. But I'm someone who is very strong-willed, and I think my mother really inspires me because she has barely taken 9 to 5 jobs. She's done that, but like I've seen her mostly as an entrepreneur, pushing through life and doing things herself. So I was like, that's really pushed me to like, okay, I can really do this, especially when you start getting paid for something that you're good at. So yeah, that's how it progressed. Yeah.
I like that you say excuse me, I like that you say that it's in your roots. I watched a show once. This lady, it was a reality show, and she had adopted a son. And when he got to the age that he was curious about his biological parents, because he builds guitars like from scratch, he writes his own songs, he's like a full music artist. When he did his ancestry kind of look up for his biological parents, he found out that his dad used to play the guitar and was actually a musician. So it's crazy that it's crazy that that's in like people's roots, and it just kind of carries carries down. So when you say
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
had when you say you had bits of creativity, like pockets of it, but it seems like you're probably on another track doing something before you finally were like, let me pay attention to these creative gifts. So what path were you on beforehand?
Okay, so for instance, like I said, if we'd had this podcast or this interview, say a year ago, I would have
Mm-hmm.
known my grandmother was a sculptor, you know. So something like that. I remember in uh, middle school, let's call it that, but we call it like
Mm-hmm.
you're from Nigeria, so it's like class
Yeah.
one, class two, yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think when we used to write comprehension, no, English composition. So you either write a story or you write a letter, and you can get some marks. So every time
Mm-hmm.
I chose to write a story, because I have this very imaginative brain, I should call it. Like I get quite a number of ideas. I can be talking to you and just see something like maybe your eyeliner just give me an idea for like something.
Mm-hmm.
So I discovered that I used to write very stories in a very abstract form.
Mm-hmm.
As little as I was, I think that was about 10, 11, 12, and the teachers would always mark me down. But in my mind, I knew I was telling the story as clearly and as creatively as I wanted it. Like a child would tell a story. And
Mm-hmm.
because they kept marking me down, I stopped doing storytelling in the
Oh
exams, and
no.
I chose letter writing because that was the easier route. It's like once you
Mm-hmm.
write the salutations and you get marks for the address and all that. So it was like, okay, that's an easy way. Then I used to like draw a lot, but I wouldn't say as much as like some guys in my class. So I'll actually copy a style that there was this guy in my class called Ginef. Then there was Norbert. They were really good artists. So I just copied the way
Mm-hmm.
they used to draw on the board. And I realized that I was very good at imitation as well. So I had like Captain America, and I had this like cowboy. Ginef used to draw cowboys. So I just copied the styles. Like I could do the same thing just by observing. That's another thing looking back.
Mm-hmm.
And I say what really put a stamp in it was I was trying to well, aside writing love letters in high school and stuff, poetic stuff, but I was trying to write SATs. I actually wrote SATs, and in studying for the SATs, what I actually didn't want to do it. My dad pushed me, but so I would sometimes go late because I didn't care to go. Then
Mm-hmm.
we had this essay that you had to write, and um, even though I'll go late, I would try and write like an introduction and part of the body. And what the tutor would do is that he would take my intro because I didn't finish and put it with the best body and give me the same marks. And I was wondering why. So he was like, he really likes the way I write. It's
Mm-hmm.
very imaginative, very vivid, it's very creative. And he was even suggesting that I do like a course on forensic science or something like a FBI kind of thing because I kind
Cool.
of like go into details and my mind, and
Mm-hmm.
with SAT tests, the subjects are quite diplomatic and quite
Mm-hmm.
serious in a sense. So I think I kind of put like very playful and relatable subjects to it,
Mm-hmm.
so like a relatable touch to it. So maybe if you're talking about a statement that, let's say, a president said, and they would say, just share your thoughts about it, then I find a way to maybe like I recall, because I think I have, like I said, and I observe something, it sticks. So it's like I remember maybe Beyonce saying something about
Mm-hmm.
that, then I try to put it in there, then I put, so it just is like it's a cultural thingy. I don't know, but yeah. So these are some of the little things that. But like I said, the SAT one was like, okay, at this level, this is like an international test, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like someone can see me, because all my life
Yeah.
is like I don't know what I wanted to do. At one point, I wanted to be a pilot because my cousin wanted to be a pilot. Then I said, "Oh, I want to be a policeman," because my friends thought being a policeman would be cool. Then going to uni. My dad is into construction, so I
Mm-hmm.
guess I wanted to do architecture with that. So it's just, these little moments, and then the happy accident of my friend giving me that led to all this. Yeah.
I love that you say serendipity because it's true. Like you say, it's a happy accident. Unbeknownst to them, they're about to open and unlock a whole new world for you. But I actually want to talk about
Yeah.
you learning how to create film by yourself because you were like, I was trying it. You're like, these are what people in Hollywood use, and I'm just trying it out and just feeling it out. How did you, when you started, how long were you spending on practicing? And did it feel like you were practicing?
Yes. At first, it felt like I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I was playing because I was actually part of. I've done a bit of music,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was in uni, so I was a part of a music group that we needed someone to like work on our videos, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean we were not broke, but like up and coming, so we didn't have money for budgets, so we were like
Student life.
waiting for someone. But there was, yeah, but there was one of the team members who was doing
Mm-hmm.
art. Actually, I was in construction, so we were all like
Mm-hmm.
expecting him to be the one to save us, but it
Mm-hmm.
ended up to be me. So it's like we had these like dailies, or let me say rashes, from one music video we did, and so like the
Mm-hmm.
outtakes, I just put it together. That was like the night that I discovered that I could use Premiere Pro to edit. I put something together. The export was terrible because it was like a 12, 15 second video, and the export was like a 1 GB. I was like, wait, what's wrong? And there was a lot of like uh alias or alias, whatever they call it. It's like these like
Mm-hmm.
hitches in the video. But I showed it to them and they were like, this is so cool. Then we had this internet cafe by Vodafone on campus. So I'll go
Mm-hmm.
there, go and watch YouTube tutorials. And I had a mentor. His name is Wilhelm Lord Niyama. Let me just put it
Mm-hmm.
out there because he actually coached me. I used to leave my hostel to go and sleep on the
Oh
floor in his
wow.
hostel just to learn, yes, how to do one effect. And he'll be like, Kofi, it's okay, change, learn something new, because I'll use it over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
was hungry. I was really hungry because I felt like for me, it wasn't even about like this is what I wanted to do, because I never had a
Mm-hmm.
dream to be a filmmaker, because I was never exposed to the possibility of such a dream. I love movies, yes, but
Yeah.
even as a director now, I hardly get a chance to watch movies. But I'm such a geek when it comes to like movies. So he really helped me, YouTube as well, and also like learning from other people, and just trying to strike a balance, because like I write as well, and it's like when I have thoughts, I try to translate them into writing, then see how best we can. So yeah, I did practice. It felt like practicing at times, because and if
Mm-hmm.
it gets to a point where you're like you get critique or you get criticized by your
Mm-hmm.
mentor or by people, and it hurts, because
Mm.
now you're feeling like you're growing. It's like growing pains. So
Yeah.
he'll tell me that this is not good, this is not good. But at a point, I realized that, because with music, I stopped because I realized I was better at writing than performing.
Mm-hmm.
But with film and video, is one thing that I realized that I was so good at, that
Mm-hmm.
I could defend my mistakes in the way that people empathize or understood or
Okay.
respected me. You get it? But with music, it's like, I knew my shortcomings. I knew I needed so much work to do. I didn't even like my
Yeah.
voice on wax. So I was like, okay, this is something that I know I'm good at. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people praise me for, even at the beginning stages. Even though I'm not where I want to be, people think
Mm-hmm.
that I'm good. So I was like, okay, let me stick to this. Yeah.
Is there a part of you that, because I mean, we'll go into your films in a little bit, but when you learn it and you're getting the critique and you now start making films, when you know that I basically started this happy mistake, I've been going to my mental space, putting in the work, is there a bit of you that feels like some level of an imposter syndrome, like other people went to like film school, they have this wealth of experience, and I'm forging my own way in some ways by myself.
Yes. If I'm being honest, I still have a bit of imposter syndrome, because I'm an indie filmmaker, but
Mm-hmm.
starting out, I had a lot of that because it's like I realized that there was this, especially watching a lot of like YouTube and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. You realize that yes, this world is possible to get into, but then
Mm-hmm.
there's this debate between going to film school or not going to film school.
Mm-hmm.
So even for my masters, I was considering film, but from someone who graduated fresh out of school with no or little money to fund that myself, my dad was
Mm-hmm.
never going to understand me to do like film. So I was like, okay, so there are people who are learning about film, but then you realize that it's only a few of them who have
Mm-hmm.
actually made it out,
Mm-hmm.
But then you hear about big directors like Paul Thomas Anderson, who didn't, he went to film school but never regarded. I think he dropped out. Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, okay, but these guys are like in Hollywood. They
Yeah.
are working big time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know how to access that. So, and you see crews on campus and on sets, and they are using these big guns and big like equipment, and I just have my iPhone. I don't even know how
Mm-hmm.
to light. So it kind of like crippled me a bit because there are
Mm-hmm.
challenges to every film you're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
Even for example, with this podcast, we might have technical issues. You might have. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you face that. So when I hit the wall, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go to films, or maybe I need to, you hear people. It's like you hear different advice, like you need to
Mm-hmm.
go on set. And for me, growing up, I mean, it's better now, but I'm still a very reserved and guarded person. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that kind who easily loves to network. And it looks like the world is created such that if you don't network, you'll die. But I don't believe that. So it's like yes, there are ways. I like this. Uh, I think it's not coming, but there's a verse by Kendrick. He was like something introverts, and now it's in DNA. It's in the song DNA. But it's basically the idea was that he's antisocial
Mm-hmm.
introvert, but he's going to shine.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I know there's a place for people like me who don't like
100%.
crowds and people. Yes, and also work on set. And like I always like smaller crews. Like
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm intimidated by big crews, but I feel like you move faster and decision making is quicker, and the
Mm-hmm.
mutual respect is more like a familiar thing. Yes. So uh yes, so basically sorry, I'm trying to get back to the question. Um
The question about imposter syndrome.
yeah, I lost track. Yes. So yeah, yes, I did. Like I said, get it there, and now too, I still wrestle with it, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
better. I would say maybe because of the awards, it kind of like eases that a bit because like
Yeah.
you have people who you've never met, who
Mm-hmm.
judges you've never known,
Mm-hmm.
who look at your work among other works and like, okay, this is good. So I'm like, okay, then probably I'm doing something right, you know. But
No,
still,
definitely.
a bit of it's like I'm wrestling with, do I need Hollywood status or not? But right now, I think I'm
Mm,
comfortable with whatever I'm doing. Wherever I get to, I'm happy. I just need people to see it. I just need someone to
mm-hmm.
relate. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So how has it changed over time with what's it been like for you on a journey to how people respond to your work changes how you navigate your goals, in the sense that most times when you start and you're like, okay, I've kind of hacked this editing thing and filmmaking thing, and obviously the big names in the world like Steven Spielberg, who I absolutely love and admire, and he's amazing. But when you're like, Steven Spielberg is like here, he's on the top, and I'm working my way to the top. But how am I making sure that while I'm working my way to the top, I'm not getting distracted by trying to get to the top? I'm just making my own impact by myself. Because when you say that you are seeing how people receive your work, it's like helps you change path. How do you navigate the two? Because it's very difficult when you're starting out by yourself. And for example, if I'm starting out in podcasting, TV shows, I'm looking at Oprah and all these types of people, but I'm Tayo and I'm Tayo and I'm still here, but it's not any less impactful.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long-winded question.
Oh yeah, I understand you very well. It's I mean, it takes for me, I've realized that it takes a lot of focus,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because for example, you have a director like Quentin Tarantino saying that he's going to make only 10 movies, and he's very sure of that, and that's it for him. You know, you have great directors like Kachowski from, I think, Poland, if I'm not wrong, who's made like a series called the Decalogue. It's 10
Mm-hmm.
films, and it's like one of the best, ever made. So it takes focus. Like you have to have a plan, or I have
Mm-hmm.
to have a plan, which I'm still working on. So it's like you either chase the wind, which is the trend, because that is what it looks like people do to get where they are. But then
Mm-hmm.
underground, I was reading something on Mr. Easy. I think he released an album recently
Mm-hmm.
called the Evil
Evil Genius or
Genius.
something?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yes. And I think one of his friends were talking, or DJ was talking about him, and it's like Mr. Easy is like a duck, on top of the water. He's flowing and floating, but like it's a lot of work going underneath,
Mm-hmm.
and that is how success is. People see you, people see, for example, Jaden Smith, and they think, oh, your father is Will Smith, but probably he works hard. If you don't have the you can have the talent, but if you don't work hard, if you don't deal with the trauma and all these things going at home, like, so everyone has some amount of skin they put inside. You need
Mm.
that because it will show in the
Yeah.
final output. So yes, so for me it's about having that goal. Say, if for me it's like I've told myself I have a number of movies that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes, of course, there are projects that you take on that you don't really connect with. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yes, you do it for the bag or the money, but it's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has been in that situation. But it's more focusing on what
100%.
I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and having a target. So it's like if I maybe I want to do a series about this and this and that. Okay, this is not the time because I don't have the funds or I'm not ready. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't learned or grown so much. So let me do these things that are like low hanging fruits
Mm-hmm.
first. And as you
Mm.
grow, as you learn, as I live, I realize that the goals are changing or updating, or I can fuse this idea that I thought was a movie with another
Mm-hmm.
idea that becomes a bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what has kept me grounded, like to focus on what I believe that I want to see on
Mm-hmm.
screen. So anytime, like, my friends or my wife or anyone asks me like um what's my top 5 or top 10, I always leave one space out for something I want to add, like my top
Yeah.
10 films or
Yeah.
series, that number two, number one, number whatever spot is something I want
Mm-hmm.
to insert there and make. So
I love that.
yeah, I think it takes a lot of laser focus, but yes, but sometimes it's not easy because you see your
Oh.
peers doing things that you wish you could do,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like, oh, this person has a project or a contract or a partnership with,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, Vogue or some, BBC or Film 4 and or I mean Channel 4, and you're like, I mean, I have a better idea, or I had a greater idea,
Yeah.
and you're kind of hating in the corner, but
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be happy for them because if it's you, someone is also
Mm,
feeling the same way, but then you probably
yeah.
work hard for it, but that's all part of, the human experience. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you need to focus because the more you look around, even in a race, the slower you get. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. The more you look around during a race, the slower you
Yeah.
get. I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's personally helpful to me because I would say at least in the past few weeks, mentally I've just been feeling like putting everything together for another season of layers to come out. I've definitely been feeling like even in a race on my own, I feel like I'm behind. But even in terms of when I look at other podcasts, like when people like release or start new podcasts and you're thinking, I think it's always good to be like, oh, this is interesting. What's this person kind of using and doing, just so in case you need to update your knowledge on whether it's a technological thing or equipment stuff. But there's a bit of you that starts to feel a bit like, oh my gosh, like, why am I not doing this? Shouldn't I be doing this? And then you start to compare yourself to another person. And I always find that the most distracted I am and when it takes me long to complete something is because I've looked at something else and I'm trying to do that something else instead of just doing it my way. um,
Yeah.
the beauty of creativity and working in a creative field, whether you're making music, you're making a film, you're creating podcasts, is the freedom that you have. But sometimes that freedom can feel like a wide open space where you're like, what next? What next and
Yeah.
how? You know.
Yeah.
To your point about looking at people, sometimes when you look at people and they release something or they have a partnership, it's a natural human thing to feel like that. But every time I look at them, I'm like, you know what? When it's my turn, and like you said, someone's looking at me like this, you won't know all the hard work, the sacrifice, the money that has been invested. Like, so I celebrate those people because I'm like, you've already gone through something. You've already kind of paid your dues in some way because it's
Yeah.
not easy to do this. What do you find is the biggest obstacle for you where you're at right now?
That's a big question. I think the biggest obstacle is I would say giving up. You know,
Mm,
um, yes, giving up, but then infused with the whole. I mean, everything we've discussed. So, like maybe looking at someone do it, the way you want to do it, and it's like, oh, I don't have what it takes, and giving
mm-hmm,
up. So that's quite broad, but like I feel like because sometimes there's some projects that my team and I have pitched to so many grants and people and investors, and nothing is coming through. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I At a point I'm like, okay, I'm tired, and I actually wanted to give up, but
mm-hmm,
I feel like there's this fire in me, and I'm like,
mm-hmm,
these stories need to be told, because I haven't
mm-hmm.
done my best work yet at all. I am not even close to doing the work that I think is the best. And the funny thing about artists, the work that you think that would blow people's minds might be the one that they're like, okay,
100%.
so,
100%.
but I haven't even done what I think is my best work yet. I have it, but like I haven't found the way to do it, you know. But I think the biggest obstacle is myself. Let me just put it that way,
Mm,
because at the end of the day, I I've taken a path to filmmaking that doesn't need permission. I don't need permission from anyone. I don't need permission from Hollywood, though it would be nice,
I love
to
that.
to get a nod. But like, I don't need permission. It's indie filmmaking. Like, I can just get
Mm,
up. Actually, done movies with an iPhone. Get
yeah.
a crew, a team that is like you could gel with, and just research, learn, and tell a story. And now it's like blowing up. We did a
Mm-hmm.
film on an iPhone 13 that has won an award and so many nominations. So we
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask anyone's permission. We put our own money together to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this case, the biggest obstacle is myself.
Mm-hmm.
Probably getting preoccupied with other things that probably are important, but then
Mm-hmm.
I still need to push, towards the more responsibilities you get, the harder you have to push for your goals.
Yeah.
So it's I'll say it's myself in this case. Yeah, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
losing focus. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think myself, if I had to answer that question, I would say myself, but I think fear, which you're so
Mhm.
right about as an art, the amount of sometimes I record an episode and I'm like, oh, like this episode is just like on another level. And it will be the one that people interact with the least and the one that I'm beating myself up about thinking, oh, that wasn't great. Maybe this should have been better this way, will be the one that people respond to the most. So I think sometimes overthinking things in your head is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So you spoke about recording a film on an iPhone and you won an award for it. That would be dream job.
Yes.
So
Yes.
dream job, talk to us about it. What was the inspiration behind dream job? I mean, I already
Okay.
know, but you
So
can tell our listeners.
yeah. So I think the actual genesis of the story is so the art director who I worked with on the film, Na Kupoko. That was the first time we were working together. So I saw her work. I've been seeing her work on Instagram, and I just hit her up like, "Hey, like I love your work. I'm a big fan, and
Hmm.
I would love to work with you one day when the time is right." And I think she checked out my page and saw that I was a filmmaker. So there was this mobile film festival Africa going on, and she sent me that on Instagram, and I was like, okay, maybe this is the moment, because
Hmm.
the criteria was you just have to use a smartphone to shoot the
Hmm.
film. So I was thinking, like, what story can I tell, and make it as simple as possible, and also, I was trying hard not to put in any dialogue. There's actually dialogue, but I call it a monologue because it's just one person
Hmm.
speaking. But
Hmm.
initially there was no dialogue, but I felt like from the Africa, making films in Africa, we are used to like dialogue. Sometimes
Hmm.
even too much of it. So I was like, okay, let me just put in some speaking so that's not too awkward. Yeah. So, but basically, the idea or the inspiration was from I have a few friends who are women, back in the day who will tell you about this job that they interview that they had, and now they come back and they're telling you that the person hiring or the manager or whoever is a married man who is trying to hit on them and sometimes ask them to do unimaginable things in the office,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
making promises. And I think recently there was
Hmm.
some news about that in Ghana coming up. And,
Hmm.
I have people very dear to me who have also been through that experience, women.
Hmm.
And I just thought that this might be the best way or platform to showcase or
Hmm.
tell those stories,
Yeah.
and how best to do that by giving, I mean, the person hiring the guy in the film has the power, but then with silence, I was like, you can give power to the woman or the victim in this case,
Hmm.
but then I leave the film not hanging, but people ask me like, did she take the job? Did she not? So we just kind of left it open. And I think that's
Yeah.
the power of storytelling, or I also call it cinema,
Hmm.
because it makes you think. And I love
Hmm.
that. Like you have a question in your mind, and that's
Hmm.
that's the world, because you see successful women, unfortunately, and it's like people are assuming, did she do something to get this money or this job?
Hmm.
She
Hmm. Or
probably
this
did
house.
something with,
Yeah.
but you know, this house, so I'm like, okay, let me leave it as the society has perceived things, but I
Mm.
there's an ideology that I was going with, which of course I don't have to share as an artist, but in private,
Mhm.
I tell people what I was thinking. Yes. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was the inspiration.
Yeah. So, one of the things I love about storytelling is storytelling can be a wonderful form of advocacy in a way that I don't know that maybe many people realize, that you can advocate for so many different people, give people a glimpse into someone's world by just telling a story. Being a young African person, how important is it for you to highlight African kind of, even if they're specific to Ghana, struggles within your storytelling? Does it play a big role or not so much?
Mhm. Um, so when it comes to like the struggles, like showing the struggles, I think I need to mention that I'm doing a photojournalism documentary course now.
Wonderful.
It's a short residency, yes, which I'm gonna wrap up soon. But I'm learning a lot about the ethics of photojournalism and documentary, like working with people, telling stories that are not one-sided, changing the
Mm-hmm.
narrative and all that. So um, with some of the knowledge that I have, and also as a filmmaker, I think it's important to tell the full truth, you know, and represents the people as how would I say? Because the power of film is that you can do whatever. You can tell the story in whatever direction that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can embellish. You can make the villain look like the hero.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's important to tell our struggles, but then with with dignity and
Um,
with humanity, with a touch of
mm-hmm.
humanity. How to do that, I can't tell because every director, every storyteller, every writer has their bias or experience,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. But the way you would describe your mother or your wife or your father to a stranger, even if you love them, and even if they did the most unimaginable thing, there's still some bit of empathy in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love movies or stories like that. For example, Breaking Bad, it's just like my favorite TV show ever.
I
And
love Breaking
you
Bad
kind of
too.
go through, like a married of who is the bad guy, then they become like they become better than the next bad guy. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
the heroes and villains like change, and it's like one person is not the same throughout, and that's life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we go through a human experience. So I feel like these are ways to tell authentic stories than always, because it's like, for example, I know we have like almost like we've had a crisis of like representation as like black people, in
Mm-hmm.
cinema across various things. But if it's like, if we're going to show the pride of blackness with as a weapon, that is one side
Mm-hmm.
of the story. That's true. But then
Mm-hmm.
we are not just, the agenda is not just to show that, okay, we are also here. I mean, there are other
Yeah.
things that we do that people don't know. We love,
Mm-hmm.
we cry, we grow. So I
Yes.
think from your experience, yeah. So the best way probably is to tell from your experience a story that you can relate to, or a story that somebody has gone
Mm-hmm.
through and someone can relate to. Yes. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's a long
Yeah.
answer, but
No, it was good. I always say that one of the things that I detest about an African representation in Western media is the dehumanization of sub-Saharan African people, in the sense that even sometimes when we talk about highlighting African struggles, it's like, but there's so much more to life. Like, people in different countries in Africa, they're going on dates, they're falling in love, they're sitting exams, they're having issues with their partners, they're just living life in a very normal way. And it's sometimes, I think, when you are creating as a young African person, you want to bring that in and expose it to different audiences, because I mean, media and narrative and representation is basically what kind of got us contributed to getting us into this place where we're now, there's a new generation trying to be like, there's a human side, and the way that we're going to create is just, it's just who we are. It's just showing you all the different
Yeah.
variations of who we are, which is why I really liked Dream Job, where it's just like, look, there's an unemployment issue, and this is actually just what women are facing in the workplace, even before you start work. I mean, I've worked in definitely some companies in Lagos in Nigeria that the level of harassment has been like, my last day of the job has just been like, oh, thank God. Like, thank God I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm completely with you. I'm really curious. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really curious about God Spelled Backwards, which is a film that you made. So
Mhm.
what was the idea behind this?
Oh, yeah, gospel backwards. So I think I'm actually saying this for the first time, publicly. That film is done with the festival circuit, but it's not out because uh, I I think it's such an uncomfortable and weird film. That's
Oh.
why, because my team has given up. If everybody's trying to push me to put it out, I'm like, you hold on, let me just feel okay with it. Yeah, but basically, uh, that film happened. So my first film ever was called Stay. On
Hmm.
I shot it on my iPhone 5. Yes, back
Wow.
in uni tech. So yeah, I just gathered my classmates. So that was on I'll say domestic abuse or abuse in
Hmm.
relationships. So basically, I just going back, I'll come back to the gospel backwards, but I saw two instances where, for one, there was a guy who smacked a lady in the face in the hall. Like, there was another one where there was a guy dragging uh, his girlfriend by the hair. And I was like, wow.
Ah.
So I sat down, wrote the script called Stay. And it was always like an irony or like a paradox where it's like, you're going through this, but you want to stay. So like stay is like you're staying
Mm.
in a bad relationship, basically. That's
Yeah.
hurting you. Yeah. So we shot it on an iPhone. I got my course or my classmates, as we call them, and um, yeah, we made it. How the gods of filmmaking throw thunder and lightning, but we still finished it, and um, it's I think that's what motivated me because I had two very close friends see it and text me that thank you for making this film. In their own words, that one of them was actually in an abusive relationship, and I
Hmm.
was young then. I didn't know what to do. All I tried to do was console them because I mean, if I was as knowledgeable as I am now,
Mm.
I would have tried to collaborate with like, um, NGOs or like maybe
Hmm.
organizations like Dovsu,
Hmm.
just to make the film bigger. So I just feel bad that I kind of left it there. The other friend, she was
Hmm.
in an abusive relationship. She had left, so she was also like she could really relate and thank you.
Hmm.
So it really told me that okay, like if you make these I mean such a story, people can relate, you know.
Hmm.
And fast forward the gospel backwards, I also made it with my classmates when I was doing my master's in the UK. I did
Hmm.
project management at Northumbria, London. So
Hmm.
I was talking to my friends. They knew me as the photo guy because I had a camera. I was taking photos of everyone, and I was like, I want to make a movie because my program or my course was 2 years, and I was like, I'm not
Hmm.
leaving London without making a film.
Hmm.
Like I said, my greatest setback obstacle is me. So I was like, I need to make a film. So one day we were in a pub,
Hmm.
London life, or every Friday we go to the pub and we were chatting as a class. And I think was it the main character or someone in the class was describing what they did when or what they think they did when they had like, I mean, they were drunk one time,
Hmm.
and it sparked this idea. I was like, oh, okay, so let me do gospel backwards,
Hmm.
where the thesis of the film is, I think it's I forgot about it's in Proverbs where it says a fool no as a dog returns to his vomit, so a
Mm-hmm.
fool returns to his folly. Because at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, through the conversations, I have never been. I mean, I drink occasionally, but I've never drunk to the point where like I'm intoxicated or drunk. So I don't know how
Yeah.
it feels to be drunk.
Yeah.
Tipsy, it's but like yeah. So I was like, through the conversation, I realized that like people actually go through this, they regret it, like they don't really like what they did. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, in hindsight, we can make fun of all those things, but it's like they hate it, but then they kind of do it again. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it becomes like an addiction. Doesn't mean some people, yes, are not even alcoholics, but they just like the feeling of, okay, I'm feeling down, let me get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
They do something stupid and you have to repeat the cycle. So that was inspiration. So basically, wrote a story about this character who was like going through this cycle of almost like confronting himself. Like, I need to stop this. What can I do? I don't know if you've seen the film. I can send it to you privately if you haven't
Please.
seen it. But yes, but it's a weird film. There's a lot of like there's some because I mean we're talking about dogs and vomits and foley and stuff like that. But let put it out there. There's no sexual content if people are thinking that. But yeah, it's a bit of yeah, it's a bit of it's quite a lot. So there are people who haven't been able to watch past the first minute. It's an
Oh,
8 minute film.
really?
Some people can't get past the first minute. Yes, I mean, and if you can get past it, then you
So,
can watch it because that's the most heavy. So yeah, but I think it's cool. It's not anything. I don't want to put spoilers out there, but yeah, I'll send it to you.
yeah,
Yes.
send it to me
So
because if it's 8 minutes, you can't put spoilers out.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about colors and light. Color and lights. So
Yes.
this
Colors.
one is
Sorry.
your
Carry on.
film. Is it? This one is your film. So it won Best Digital
Yes.
Story at the Accra Indie Festival. Amazing, amazing. You won it at home. So talk us through it,
Yes.
and then talk us through what it felt like to win the award.
Okay. So colors and lights. I mean, I could even cry talking about it because it almost didn't get made. You know, it's we call it a music documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a music video, but in a
Mm-hmm.
documentary form. And it's to a song by Ghanaian soul singer Mystery, who is a very close friend and a business partner as well. We went to tech together, Care University in
Mm-hmm.
Ghana, in Kumasi. She did architecture, and I was doing quantity surveying, construction. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how we met because I was doing music. And she did a song in 2016, and we were thinking of like music video ideas year after year after year. And I think in 2021 or 2, I was like, no, I've got the idea. So there was a music video that came out. I don't want to mention it because I'll give everything away. The film is not out yet, but there's a music video that came out by Jay-Z and someone. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this might be it. Then I saw something by Stromae. He's
Mm-hmm.
a Belgian singer rapper. Yeah, he
Yeah.
also did some project, and I was like, okay. So I picked from these two projects and other things I've
Mm-hmm.
seen because I was like, I always make notes of cool things that I see, and I was like, I called her. I was like, this is the idea. We have to
Mm-hmm.
do it now because she's working on an EP. So she liked it, and basically, I'll just say like it's a documentary about young Ghanaian entrepreneurs, you know, and like just because against the backdrop of the economic states that Ghana is
Mm-hmm.
in, because the government comes out to say that the government payroll is full. There are no jobs, in the government sector. So the youth should go into entrepreneurship. And we don't have like there's no directive, there's no incentives. Like
Mm-hmm.
just jump. If you land, you land. So we made something to encourage. we made something to encourage the youth. We're very specific about the age range,
Mm-hmm.
to know that okay, these people are doing something good. We reached out to a lot of people. Some said no, some were too busy, but like we still got a good amount. And it was quite a number, so we even had to ask the producer to stretch the song in a nice way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just to encourage and let people know that this option is yes, it's possible and people are doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can
Mm-hmm.
also do it. And I think the Accra Indie, I think we got a recent nomination in South Africa. I need to confirm with the producers, but thank you. But the Accra Indie film, they liked it, they selected it, and I had no idea we were going to win because I never won like a physical award, you
Yeah.
know. So when we were there, they called my name. I was just sitting there, I was like, get you, So yeah, like I'm really grateful that for the
Yeah.
first physical award, which is somewhere in this house, and I mean it's not somewhere, it's in the cabinet. I've actually put it
Yeah,
there.
it's somewhere safe.
Like it's from the yeah, it's safe. It's safe. I'm like, it's from Ghana. It's from my home soil. It's from Accra,
Mm.
where I was born and grew up, and that means a lot. That's like
Mm-hmm.
that's like the roots for me. That's the
Mm-hmm.
anchor. That's the foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything can top that. You know,
Yeah.
God forbid if God calls me today, if I'm dead, at least I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy knowing that I got this commendation from my
Mm-hmm.
home country for a project that is not about me, but it's about us.
Yeah.
So it makes me
Yeah.
happy. I think, yeah.
I love that because it's like it was in a way some form of love letter to the youth in Ghana,
Mm.
and then it came back to you. So it's like
Yes,
we're all in this together.
exactly.
It's it seems as though
Exactly.
you in the beginning of the podcast we spoke about how you stumbled into filmmaking, sort of the happy accident as we've been calling it, but it seems as though a lot of your work is either acknowledging something happening society wise, economically, politically, and it kind of, whether that's internally, how one is battling internally with what's happening externally, or how one can make it regardless of what is happening externally. And is that very intentional for you, or do you feel like these are just the ebbs and flows of my heart and it's just coming out in my work? I mean, biblically, I think there's a Bible verse passage that talks about out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, but I wonder if
It
out of
must
the
be,
abundance of
yes.
the hearts the hands create. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I have friends who have also mentioned this, and
Hmm.
it's interesting you've also made that observation. Um, I think it's not intentional,
Hmm.
like you're saying. It's probably the I would say I'm becoming. I mean, that is becoming my style,
Hmm.
and I don't. Yeah, I'm not against it,
Hmm.
but I feel like I said, I don't have a wide array of works yet,
Hmm.
because there are some stories that, yes, might take a different approach,
Hmm.
but to be very honest, there's still some um, surrealism and satire in
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
That's why I love shows like Atlanta.
Hmm.
Where it's like it's funny, but it's like you're laughing and like kind of like questioning yourself at the same time. So yeah, but I think it's probably embedded in me because I
Yeah.
never like. I mean, I try. Yes, sometimes I'm looking for a story or I'm inspired by something to make a story, and as creatively as I can put the film together with shots and framing and all that, I feel like maybe these are stories that I need to tell, you
Yeah.
know. probably by calling or
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, if I make 20 films and they're all like that, then I can say, okay, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, probably like I'm the Martin Scorsese of these kind of films.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you do. I think that your creative journey, just journey of life, is so interesting, and it's very fascinating and inspiring, because I relate in many ways where really you're like, I love when you said, I don't need permission from anybody, from Hollywood, Gollywood, I don't need permission from anybody. I can create, and that's a very powerful thing. And really you're just forging your way forward, but it's yielding really, really wonderful stuff. So let us know
Thank you.
what is on your mind in terms of what kind of things are you thinking of creating next? What's next for you?
Mm. So I got a chance and the opportunity to create some ads.
Wonderful.
I mean, I think some people saw Dream Job and they're like, "Oh, we have a small startup. We want to do some ads." So I'm trying to venture into the ad world, but do like
Welcome,
cinematic
friend.
spots. Making cinematic ads.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're working on a few now,
Mm-hmm.
which hopefully, depending on the clients, should be out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner than the year will end. And I mean, to be honest, filmmaking, as in like narrative films, like
Mm-hmm.
the ones that have even won awards,
Mm-hmm.
don't make you money, especially
Mm-hmm.
short films. And I even realized that if you win an Oscar, you don't get any money. There's no money for winning an Oscar.
It's just
It's
an
the
award.
recognition that counts,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yes, so it's like getting an award is still is like it's another pile of responsibility and work, because you have to
Mm-hmm.
actually put yourself out there for people to know that you have won an award. So it's work. It's like with great responsibility, as you say. What? No,
With
I don't know what I'm
to
saying,
whom
but
much
you
is
get it. So,
given, much is required.
Manchester, yes, So I was like, okay, so some because that also comes with I'll say
Mm-hmm.
imposter syndrome sometimes, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I've won some awards, so it should be
Mm-hmm.
easier for me, it should be
Mm-hmm.
automatic, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, so no, because you have people who haven't even won, maybe probably got a recognition, and
Mm-hmm.
they brand themselves so well, and they're getting all the
Mm-hmm.
jobs.
Yeah.
So so I'm learning that branding is important. Like I said, I'm reserved and kind of guarded. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why do I really need to put this award? That's why I don't have award winning in my bio or anything, because I mean you can see it on my story. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to say, and that's not my aim. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's part of a strategy to get to where I
Mm-hmm.
want to, but it's not the aim. So um, it's like
Mm-hmm.
the branding. I'm learning that okay, you need to brand yourself. That's a world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
If you kind of say, oh, I hate this, that's not me. I mean, you still stop. So you have to brand yourself and find a way to sell yourself. Because the films don't make money. It's the ads, the commercial projects are some of the ones that
Mm.
you will tear your hair out, just to do and
Oh
get
yeah.
through. Because for
Yeah.
me, it's editing jobs, animation. I also do like some animation that
Mm-hmm.
actually bring me the money, and that I'm quite quiet about. Like, I mean, you see
Mm-hmm.
those works on my website, but like
Mm-hmm.
I, as a filmmaker, like I want to brand myself as a filmmaker
Mm-hmm.
to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And very soon a documentary photographer. So just storyteller basically. So that's the brand I put out there. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, like Mr. Easy, like a duck under the water, I'm really, really paddling and
Yeah.
getting some edits work, trying to beat
Mm-hmm.
deadlines and trying to, plead with clients and all that. So
Yes.
yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
I love that you said it's, in terms of talking about your awards, that it's part of the strategy, but it's not the goal. I completely relate to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been looking through just Leia's work and kind of the rollouts of that, because I work in marketing and in advertising. So it's like I kind of know what to do. And when I said one of the things that holds me back is the fear, it's like I'm with my close friends, I'm like just open and whatever, but with strangers, and when you think that you're putting your creative work, you're putting yourself, you're putting your accomplishments on the internet to a whole bunch of strangers with different views and backgrounds, and it can be very intimidating. But I find that sometimes people discover things and they text me like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were doing this. I didn't know you had a podcast, but this is amazing. This is it." And I'm like, I need to try to put myself out there more, because I completely understand where it's like, why do I have to talk about all these awards? Like, I just want to do what I love, create, help people, and make some money. And, but then the way that kind of building a personal brand today, it feels as though you have to be so involved and you have to give so much of yourself and you have to put yourself out there and be in all these different talks. And you look at the people that are doing, and it's like, you're winning. There's a reason why your stuff is discoverable, because you are putting yourself out there. How have you been dealing with that
Yeah.
internal, like, this is not me, so how much can I give while remaining authentic without the expense of myself?
Yeah. I I'm gonna be honest. It gets to a point even within my family. It's like you get nominations after nominations, and you're tired. Like, okay, it's like everybody's like confused. So which one? Which film is this for? Which nomination? Like, which film is this for? Because it's like at a point we had nominations for Colors and Lights, and we won an
Hmm.
award, and it's like, my wife is like, what? Which film is this for? It's just like it's become a lot, and it's a
Yeah.
blessing, you know. But then it's like, especially, yes, internally as a family and friends, it's like you are celebrating, you're happy. But
Hmm.
now comes the layer of putting it out on social media,
Hmm.
where you have to think and be like, am I going to bore people? It's like not everybody understands what a film festival nomination or selection means. Some people actually think that the selection means you won an award. So people see me and like, oh, he's won 10 awards. I'm like, no, no, no. It's
Just,
a
just,
selection
just
means
nomination. Calm
being
down.
selected to, you know, but then of course you don't have to explain. That's why it's all branding. I mean, you're not lying, you
Hmm.
pulled out the truth. But it's like sometimes because there are some selections that didn't go far, so I don't even put them out, to be
Hmm.
honest, But I feel like sometimes like, okay, I might be boring people too much because like I said, it's not a goal for me. So it's like I
Hmm.
don't want to put it out there that, oh, I'm just doing this for the award. So sometimes I have
Hmm.
to curate. Actually, like I think I'm learning that curation of your Instagram page or website is important. So you have to
Hmm.
curate what you want, what is important, and what
Hmm.
you want people to see.
Hmm.
You get it.
Hmm.
So um, I make selections of the ones that I know that, okay, maybe they have a wider reach. Yes,
Hmm.
I know a lot of people might not know about film festivals, but it's like for people who are in the industry, you
Hmm.
know, this is good, or maybe this is from a different demographic. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we are from Ghana, we are from Italy, we are from
Hmm.
Canada, So yes, but at a point I feel like, okay, so it's like people are going to be like, okay, he has so many awards now or selections, like he's
Hmm.
a big time guy. I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I'm still, trying to make
We're
things
still
work,
hustling this
you
hustle.
know, and my mom would be like, okay, so how much are you getting for this award? I'm like, you don't pay me anything, it doesn't come with any money, so
Yeah.
there are all these things you have to grapple with because people see you and it's like, to be honest, some of my friends think that because of the awards, like instantly automatically I have to change. So if they don't reach me, it's like, oh, he's so busy now, you call him, he doesn't, so it's like there's this stigma about that stage. But of course, the higher you go, these things happen, because it's like there's this relevance to your work,
Hmm.
but then you have to push through and still affirm with people who you love or are close to you that, yo, I'm still here. I may
Hmm.
be busy, but I'm still here. And those who understand will understand,
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
personally, as a reserved person who is trying to be true to the art, I feel like there's no clear cut tool or way to go about this. Because as a human
Mm.
being, sometimes it hits you. It's like you feel like, okay, now I've won all this, but I'm still, feeling, let me use the word lonely,
Mm.
because even this guy who hasn't won any award is making, arts for this big brand, and I am
Mm-hmm.
here with my big or little award, and I don't even know how to get connected to these people,
Yeah.
So it's like you struggle and wrestle with that, but I feel like I said, if you're focused, because I
Mm.
know where I want to be, I know what I want to do, and trust me, like you were saying, I love that you've done some research, or like you actually read captions, but you realize that there are people watching you, people bookmarking your work, people
Mm-hmm.
watching your stories, because you
Mm-hmm.
see some executive in some production company always watching your stories. I'm like, okay, when is this guy going to strike? Because like,
Oh my
why is he
gosh.
interested in my story? So
Yeah.
it's like these things happen and nobody's making contact. So it also stresses you out. Like, okay, like I'm ready, just call me, or what are you looking for? It's almost
Let
like
me tell
God, in a sense,
you.
watching you
Mm-hmm.
to be ready, before he pours down that blessing. Because like, okay, you're not ready yet. You think you're
Mm-hmm.
there, but you're not ready yet. So
Hi,
keep
that's
going.
you know what I actually also think.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of similar in this sense. This person is watching, but they're not saying anything. I had like, I don't even know if it's an
Hmm.
epiphany or I don't know what it is, but I woke up one day and I was like, mm, no, I'm going to start reaching out to each and every one of you. And if you reject me, cool. I mean, who hasn't suffered rejection at this point? Like trying to do all these creative stuff, build something on your own. Like you just get doors shut in your face all the time. So it's like, I don't care
Yeah.
anymore. If you're watching my stories, I'm reaching out to you or I'm sending you my stuff I think it's like an introvert's kind of, I'm not really an
Yeah.
intro. I'm like a good mix of like introvert, extrovert, but I feel like
Yeah.
nowadays I'm like, I need to start putting myself out there a lot more and just risking it and just being like, actually, who cares? I have one life to live and I'm not trying to be broke the rest of my life. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you see someone that's like, just reach out to them or send them something.
Yeah. 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 Because sometimes, like, okay, like what you actually, like, it's a bit confusing,
Hmm.
but for me, it's like, I'm very big on waiting or patience. Like I
Yeah.
think my one of my mottos, which I learned from my mom, is God's time is the best. But for me, I
Yeah.
just say God's timing is the best.
Yeah.
Because even with like Alice and Light, we from 2016 to 2022, it's like
Hmm.
it's a big gap, and it
Hmm.
happened. So for me, it's
Mm.
like if the person is really interested, then
Hmm.
they are always there because there's something
Hmm.
that they want to see. So I don't
Yeah.
want any like to try and do like
To
a
disrupt it.
premature
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah. It's a hard
Yes,
one to
yes.
balance because you
So
don't know. Yeah.
I know, yeah, you don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like sometimes for me, one thing I've learned is as much as I mean, you choose your heroes or your mentor,
Hmm.
and I also learned that sometimes that's what they say. There's a friend that said something about sometimes it's good not to meet your heroes,
Yeah.
because you see them in a certain light,
Hmm.
and you meet them and you realize that um it probably not they're not a bad person, but it's like your personalities don't
Don't.
gel,
Yeah.
you know. Yes, so sometimes it's like, okay, I would really love to work with this person, or blah blah blah, and you realize that as much as I do great work, it's not an environment you want to be in. You get it?
Hmm.
So sometimes
Hmm.
we force ourselves into situations that, yeah, they don't really play out well. But then, of course, you still learn an experience from that.
Yeah.
So I'm also very kind of picky on who I choose as a hero or a mentor, and who I
Hmm.
really want to get close to.
Yeah.
Do some research, and yeah. So I mean, so for me, the process is quite slow, but
Hmm.
you're bolder than I am. So I commend you on that.
Oh. Mm-mm. I'm really not. I feel I'm really not, because I know what you mean, because there has been someone I've been meaning to reach out to probably
Mm,
probably the whole year. I cannot get myself to send the message, because I really understand when you say it's a timing thing, because I could send this message today
mm,
and it'll be the perfect time for us to get together and do something great. And I could send the message and it's not the right time, and
yeah,
it won't be received. One, that struggle of, is it the right time? Should I? Because reaching out is not. I mean, one has to be bold and put themselves out there and try and reach out for the opportunities that you want. But there's also a very big part of it that's like, is the timing correct? It's like, if you are going to plant something, you have to make sure that the soil is ready to receive the thing that you're planting. So I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
you. I get it. But
yeah.
bold
I think
next
for
year.
me, uh, yeah, I think for me, one thing is like I believe that once there's contact, you
Mm-hmm.
know, once let's say I adore your work, and for
Mm-hmm.
me, like I celebrate. If I post someone's work, it means I love it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and and sometimes yes, it might be controversial, but I love it because I love the idea of what it speaks to, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
how controversial it is, or maybe it's funny, or maybe like I try not to put like captions in my stories to give off what I'm thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think once I've made contact, say I love your work, and I comment on your story that, oh, I love this, or in
Mm-hmm.
your posts, and the person likes it or says
Mm-hmm.
thank you, for me that's enough. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
like a seed sown, you know, and at the right time, like you're saying, you know, the seed will germinate.
Mm-hmm.
You guys will cross path, or the next thing you know, the person is like, because when I won the award like this, I was shocked at some of the
Mm-hmm.
people who were commenting. Liking is easy because I've read. You just go in there like tap. You don't even check it. You just see the picture, 2 seconds.
So I
But
just
people like
like,
taking time to comment. I was
yeah.
like, oh, all you people are like watching and all that. And for me, that's what also makes it stressful. It's like, okay, so you're just there, and it's like the award that means something to you. Like you don't like any of my work, it's just the award, kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes.
so it's like, okay, so this is a strategy that works. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so let me pivot. Let me try and see how I can leverage on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that once you've made contact and you keep doing what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
um, definitely one day, that door will open. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
the people you need to reach out to, you
Mm-hmm.
have, like I said, the art director that I work with on Big Job.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to reach out to her because I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
love your work. I can't believe you're working in Ghana doing such good work. And she said, thank you. I was like, I'd love to collaborate when the time is right. And she actually got back to me with that
Mm-hmm.
post, and we did Big Job. And now even the actress is it's her first time, Kilian, her first time ever acting, and now her face
Wow.
is everywhere in Cote d'Ivoire, in Morocco, in Italy. So
Yeah.
and it's also joy for me to like, oh wow, we work with people who were just willing and love to create, and
Mm-hmm.
now everybody's reaping, the benefits and the
Yeah.
fruits of their labor. So it's like next time you feel like this little family. So next time you don't even have to talk much. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we want to do something. Like, yeah, great, let's do it. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is the award winning director.
Yeah.
But it's just nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. Don't despise the days of small beginnings. I mean, I also think like, when you were doing small beginnings and we're asking our friends to help us with things, we're gathering like a small crew. It always just feels like, or you're just putting something together. But I mean, when I watched the Genius documentary, I think the Jesus Walks video was very much a, I'm just starting out. He just got his friends together, called another person, this random person shot it. It's like, I just feel like when you're starting, it's so easy to not celebrate those wins, like you said. Like, it's her first acting job, and now she's everywhere. But we're in
Yeah.
this together, so I'm very I'm really excited. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I'm really looking forward to everything that you're going to be up to and all your new releases, and we'll be following. I'll link all of your social media and all of your portfolio work in the description box and description bar. So any last words for anyone that is listening? What are you parting, leaving us as you part? Is that making sense? Leaving us as you part. What are you parting? What's your parting gift to us?
Yeah.
Getting too tongue tied.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say just believe. I mean, this is nothing they haven't heard before, but if you have a dream, I think I'm at the point in my life where I believe that anything is possible, but then to some extent you have to put in a level of work,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Even for example, this is very close to reach, but I realized that Beyonce released a new perfume line, Sinwa,
Mm-hmm.
and my first thought was, oh, it's Beyonce, probably, but I'm sure there's still like an amount of work and research that she had to be involved in to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make a cup of tea, um, you get
You have
up,
to
you
get
have to
up.
find the tea bag, put it in like hot water, so you have to go after it. I've realized that it's possible. Once you put your mind to it, even the Bible says it's like write it down. If you have that dream, write it down and surely it comes to pass, Um, but yeah, I believe in focusing and yes, write it down. It's important to actually write down your goals, and depending on your faith, I'm a Christian, so I also pray,
Mm-hmm.
because there's only much that a human spirit can do. I mean,
Yeah.
so more if you're sick, I mean, what can you do? So I ask for the hand of God, to
Mm-hmm.
also guide me to make the right
Yeah.
decisions. Because
Mm-hmm.
making the wrong decisions is part of the experience, but then you learn from it, but you still spend some time.
Mm-hmm.
You still waste some time, which you could have been using for someone else. But it's not just time. Sometimes you spend money and all
Mm-hmm.
that. So I think that divine guidance is very important. So
Yeah.
yes, just laser focus, believe. Like the word believe is very it's hard to believe the word believe, but you have to believe that it is possible, and you have to be ready to go through, you know, the mud because you wanted rain, so
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a lot of mud. So yes, but I mean it's possible. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for being here, Kofi, and thank you for sharing your journey with us and your experiences. It's been really, really great. So I'm really happy, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a good time. Probably haven't spoken at length like this in a while about what I love to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate it. Yeah.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad.